Hello, guys, and welcome back to Fast Finance, where finance is actually fast. So today we're going to be looking at a few of the most pertinent stories. First up, we have the U.S. economy is ready to surge with a big stimulus and fast vaccines. So essentially, what that is saying is that the almost $2 trillion stimulus bill, as well as the progressive COVID 19 vaccinations, improve the U.S. economic outlook for the upcoming year. In fact, the latest Bloomberg monthly survey of economists shows the annualized pace of growth in the first quarter to be 4.5%. So that's actually twice as fast as they expected just 2 months ago. They would have expected 2.4% just 2 months ago. For the full year, GDP is actually expected to rise 5.5%, and that would be the fastest since 1984. And that's actually up from January's estimate of 4.1%, notably as well. So, good news all around. Here's a very different story. This focuses on cryptocurrency. So, China actually has plans for a digital yuan, unfortunately, for Bitcoin users, anyways. So the nation is essentially working on creating a digital version of its own currency. It's expected to create some turmoil in the cryptocurrency market, specifically if Chinese officials tighten regulations at the same time. That's really the primary focus, is how they are going to tighten regulations around having this new digital currency of theirs. It is said by a former Goldman Sachs employee who worked in cryptocurrencies that it's actually going to be, quote, one of the biggest risks in crypto. So it definitely is something to keep an eye on. And a recent report from JP Morgan Chase and Company said that there's likely to be, quote, a severe liquidity shock to the broader cryptocurrency market, quote, if issues arose that affected the, quote, willingness or ability of both domestic and foreign users to use Tether, quote. So why is this important? Well, quote, all volume goes through Tether, essentially because although you're not able to actually buy cryptocurrencies very directly in China, the government has some rules against that. What they do is they use Tether to sort of act as an intermediary to allow them to invest in cryptocurrencies while they otherwise wouldn't be able to, because Tether is very similar and stable to the US dollar. But if Chinese individuals are no longer able to do that, which is to say use Tether to buy other cryptocurrencies or have regulations that prevent that even more than they already do, then the broader cryptocurrency market is not going to fare well, and that's for sure. Next up, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Friday that higher long-term Treasury debt yields were actually a sign that market participants were anticipating a stronger recovery and not of increased inflation concerns. So there were some people saying that that was the case, that it was increased inflation, or they were expecting increased inflation, and she's essentially calming that temperament. She said, quote, I don't see that the markets are expecting inflation to rise above the 2% inflation objective that the Fed has as an average inflation rate over the long run. So that's all positive news, and again, that's probably going to calm a lot of the fears currently in the securities markets. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, the U.S. and the EU suspended tariffs imposed in the Boeing Airbus dispute. So this is going to affect some stocks a little bit. Essentially, what they're doing is they're just easing trade tensions, specifically cheese, olives, wine, whiskey, nuts, cherries, suitcases. So if you own any of those stocks and they have a high, frequency of selling in the EU or maybe in the US, and it's maybe coming from the opposite country, then it might be something to look into. And then finally, and I think very importantly, we have a story about China actually hacking, Microsoft and gaining access to tens of thousands of customer information profiles. So essentially, what happened was that a lot of small businesses and local governments were actually involved in this hack that appears to have originated from China. It could be a total of more than 250,000 people, one person familiar with the matter said. The way that they did this was by exploiting a series of 4 flaws in Microsoft's Exchange software. So it is Microsoft's fault to some extent, and I'm sure that they might have to pay reparations. We'll see how that goes and exactly how this plays out. But this is not, this is not good news. So we'll see what happens in the following days. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for spending your time with me.